So I think to start with, I'd like you to maybe take your mics. Yeah, I'd like you to explain one after the other, basically, your ideas. Why did you have this crazy idea to do a purpose company and a for-profit company, but that had purpose behind it? Maybe, Fatou, you can share first the story of the Great Village.
Hi, everyone. The story of the Great Village, I think, it starts with my story. I'm going to share something quite personal with you that nobody actually really knows. When I was young, I used to be bullied in school, and kids would just run after me and make fun of me. So I would go back home every evening crying, and I would be on my bed, and I would read books. And through those books, I would travel the world. And when I was young, I had a lot of dreams. And one of the biggest dreams for me was to travel. I really wanted to discover the world, but also I wanted to have a great job. I wanted to be beautiful because those kids were bullying me because they said I had a weird face. Flash forward, last year I turned 30, and I had realized all my dreams. I had traveled to 50 countries. I lived in 5 of them. I was the head of trade for a large consulting firm, an expert for the United Nations, and a model. So who am I? I think I'm... So who am I? I'm a dreamer. But I didn't succeed in all that just by myself. I was helped along the way. A lot of people gave me something without expecting anything in return. When I got to Australia, I was broke. Someone hosted me for a month without asking me anything. Some people connected me with other people so I could find a job. So people gave me first. So when I turned 30, I realized I had it all, but I wasn't giving back. And that's how the Great Village started. I decided it was time for me to start to give back and to help other people by giving them first and helping them turn their dreams into a reality. So the Great Village, what it is, it's a community of daring people who help each other to turn altruistic dreams into impact-driven businesses.
Perfect. Then let's go to Charles-Antoine, who funds others' dreams as well. You fund children who want to skateboard and a lot more than that, actually. But it started with your own obsession as well, with your own story.
Voilà, hello everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you for inviting me. I created the Skateroom 6 years ago as a social entrepreneurship project, and it's just le hasard de la vie qui m'a amené à cela. When I was a kid, I was collecting some skateboard decks made by artists, and I always liked that. I ended up with a consequent collection that I was not looking really anymore, like 6 years ago. One day I met Oliver Perkovic. Oliver Perkovic is the founder of a Berlin-based NGO called Skateistan. Skateistan would use the skate as a hook to get the attention of the kids in the street, and he began the program in Afghanistan. And once they are in the program of skating, they would put them back into school education programs, and which is highly successful, and they are even the image of the United Nations Youth Days. Oliver was looking for some funding for his second installation in Phnom Penh, and I decided to sell a part of this collection in order to fund the project. 3 months later, being in Phnom Penh for the opening of the skate park, I was stuck by the interaction of the kids with the program. So I decided to quit my activities in Brussels by the time, which was in the art. I had an art gallery. And I decided to launch the Skateroom as a B Corp, which we are now. We are a B Corp, and to dedicate the collaboration that we would produce to fund Skateistan at a certain time. Long story short, in 6 years we became too big for Skateistan, and we have mobilized all the social projects for skating and education around the world, and we love what we do.
And finally, another one who does art for social good, Marine. Can you tell the story of MTArt, which is also a personal story? It also starts with your own story.
Yes, I think
So it's very similar in terms of that background. The art world means that 90% currently in the art industry comes from privileged background, whether that's artists or art professionals. So I'm basically in an industry where there's absolutely no diversity. This is also reinforced by the fact that 2/3 of galleries are currently not making money. So there's no economics in a lot of the sector. So I think I spent the first part of my career trying to please. I was a very young gallery director at 21. My first boss was Steve Lazaridis, who spotted Banksy and JR. And then I was sent to Los Angeles 2 years later to open my own gallery. And at the time, I looked posh, even though I wasn't. And I tried to pretend I was very refined, even though I wasn't. Because I was told that's the only way that you can make it in my sector, and that's who I should be. But I was also bored with, therefore, the type of talent and the type of artists I was encountering, because the only one that could afford to make art were also that same type. So at 25, I decided that that was enough. I couldn't carry someone that I wasn't, and I also just wasn't comfortable with the social values that were sitting around me. I was lucky to be exposed to the top talent agencies in Los Angeles, who basically make the top musicians, sportives, and actors incredibly successful. And I thought that's really interesting, because those guys are actually making money. If I start a business that is more profitable and is more impactful for my talent, that not only I can pay my employees better, but I can also finance my artists. And actually, therefore, it's not really about who can afford to be here, but it's who is talented and therefore is chosen because they can be here. So we founded the first talent agency of the art sector. What does that mean is we finance our artists monthly in terms of the studio costs. We put a whole team of resources behind them. I love dreamers. My artists are completely crazy. They want things that just generally are just not possible. But we always, we see them being possible, and we give them the resources of that. And I love working with dreamers, and that's the people that I really want to support. And that's kind of my artist. I don't know if I've partly put slides, but I will talk later of the project on that basis.
Okay, yes, I think that's up to the régie. Maybe we can...
It's okay. It's difficult to talk about art projects without showing visuals, but you will have to imagine it.
Up next, I mean, one of the things that joins you all is that you're for-profit companies, but both of you are certified B Corp, and I think it would be interesting to talk about this, and Fatou hopes that all her companies will soon be certified B Corp as well. So I would like to, first of all, I'm sure everyone here is a little bit familiar with the concept, but I think it might be worth re-explaining once again what certified B Corp means. Charles-Antoine, could you...
Well, I guess in other tents here, they will explain more deeply what is represent to be a B Corp, what is the way to become a B Corp. It is a path, it is a journey to make it, but let's consider people and planet before considering the profits, and it's more than time to apply that. In our exercise, we've done that since the beginning, and we feel a real change in the last 2 years. Coming from artists, coming from retailers, and even coming from brands in the interest they could have on the way we would have interact with the artist, with the social project, with the engagement, and with the message to bring to our customers through the consumption and through the buying process of the deck that you're making. You are changing the life of someone who cannot consume. And I think it is more than time to engage consumption, to have an impact on the people who don't have the chance to consume.
Marine, you talked to me about the importance of being for-profit. You've mentioned it a little bit now before, but I think I'd like to hear you again discuss this, because I think it's very important. Why you say that it was important for you to have a business model.
Yeah, just 2 seconds on the B Corp. What I think is also incredibly relevant is metrics. So it sounds silly, but I'm also in a sector where everyone says they do social good and they put on lovely dresses and actually not much is being done. What I like about B Corp is that, it is painful because you have to analyze every corner of your company, but ultimately it is verified and you can't just say I'm doing the right thing. It actually has to be proven and kind of checked, which I think is really important in those current times. In terms of being for profit, I think, again, I just feel that most people need to think about money, and that's the world we're in. And I know that art and money sometimes feels like a dirty word, but for me, I just want to make sure that people can do what they love. And money is a vehicle for them to do what they love because they have to live like all of you in that sense. So we've always been saying we're profitable and we have been doubling revenue year on year, but we are a B Corp and we have ethics at the heart of the company. And I just want to make sure that therefore the economics and socials are aligned. But I think that's the principle also of B Corp, is that business for good is not incompatible. You can be thinking economics and thinking social at the same time.
And finally, Fatou, I think you have really interesting things to say about how you go about convincing others to join and do an impact enterprise. You shared with me a story about people who started helping you out for free, but who had no interest in social impact whatsoever, and then how you made them change their minds.
I think a good example there is how we took 10 of our entrepreneurs to New York without any money for a week. So we had that big dream that 10 of our entrepreneurs could go to New York and try and find and grow their businesses there. So we had to convince people to give us flight tickets to host us in a hotel. And we convinced those people. And the way we did it is we convinced them that they should give us first because we believe that we have to give before getting. And if I look at all of you here in the room, if I ask you, are there people that have given you things for free without expecting anything in return? Can you please raise your hand if that happened to you one day? I think that's 95% of the population here. So I have another question for you. Instead of asking people what they should do for you, how about asking them what you could do for them? And that's going to go a long way. And that's exactly how the Great Village works. When you enter the community, you have to gift something. You have to give something from your heart, something you love. That could be you're a photographer and you're going to do a shoot for one of the talents. Or maybe you have an extra room and you're happy to host an event for one of those entrepreneurs. So you have to gift. Once you gift, you receive great vibes, which is a digital currency. As soon as you've given enough, you can then become an entrepreneur with a sustainable and impactful project, and you can use your great vibes to then receive the help you need. So basically, it's just a community. But what's important, I think, is the business model behind, and it's shifting the paradigm. Because Maud, my co-founder, and I, we founded the Great Village, and we owned the whole company. But we decided to gift all of the shares to the members. So the Great Village today is owned 100% by all the members equally. And everybody in the Great Village who starts his company has to give back 5% of his company to the village and 10% of their revenue. And that is used, of course, to pay for all the costs like lawyers and things like that. But it also means that we are all together to reach the success, and everybody is raising together. And think about Uber. Imagine if Uber had done that business model. Imagine if all the drivers owned the equal share of Uber. How would the world look like?
I think one of the questions that we have, yes, please, let's applaud this. One of the questions that we have with this business for social good is, obviously we see that there's a shift, a mind change, and lots of people are still very pessimistic about, is it only just a happy few, maybe all the people here, but outside of Paris, maybe not. One of the things that all of you have told me is that you're convinced that this is a global thing, that there's no way, this is the way things are going, and that there's no going back. So actually, the companies that are just doing profit for profit are wrong because this is it's not going to be sustainable and it's not how it's going to go. People are not going to be interested in this. Can you please talk to me about it? Maybe Charles-Antoine first, and then Marine and Fatou.
Well, in our experience, as I said, yes, we have more and more interest. Let's come back to the business model we have applied for the last 6 years. The idea would be to dedicate 10%, maybe sometimes 20 when it's a more expensive product, 10 to 20% of the sales to be given to the social projects. Of course, it's an exercise, but as I was saying to the people from Louis Vuitton Group yesterday, I think if all the areas of the company would share the same vision and objective, yes, the marketing can give 1%, yes, the production can give 1 to 2%, of course the retailers can mobilize as well, and we can all give those 10%. I think specifically, yes, we are, some of us here, convinced by the engagement model, but we have to think about all the people in the street. Those people would become consommateurs. They are choosing the product they will buy. They will choose the companies they will interact with, etc. And the young people have this in mind, and they will change the world. The brands have to adapt their model to them, otherwise they will lose their market. And I think it has been said yesterday on this scene as well, by major players in the B Corp scene. Voilà.
I would add a little bit of cynicism that there's a report from Harvard that just came out that from 16 years old to 25 years old, 80% of people wants to be rich and 50% wants to be famous. And that is, I think we are in a bubble. And, I think when I gave a TED talk specifically about one of that subject when I said that, I think it's more now, but there's 140 million people who follow Kim Kardashian. And that is lifestyle, narcissism, consumerism, and that's just a reality. And I think if you compare to the Louvre Museum, it's potentially 3 million. If you compare to Ai Weiwei, it's potentially 1 million. If you compare to, to anyone who's done something incredible, it's just a tiny fraction. So I think, again, back to the example that Alice and Mars was kind of giving, and the example you were giving about Uber, we need to really think, who do we empower? Like, just being on Google, but having an Apple phone, and I'm guilty of this, and I feel terribly guilty about a sentence today. But I think also just liking and following someone like Kim Kardashian is not sending the right message, and it's not contributing to anything we're discussing today. And it's obviously not just her. It's just right now, most of your influencers on Instagram, most of your demographic of what's being watched on Instagram is actually the opposite of the values we're currently discussing. And yet all those likes and those follows are all of us. We are keep on continuing that issue. So that's free, to empower content, that's free. You can like and follow someone that actually you want to empower. It doesn't cost any money, but yet we're still not empowering enough the ones that are trying to change it.
What I would like to add to that is, I think we've reached a point of time where we don't have to make things opposites. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to think about money or make an impact. We can do both at the same time. We don't have to talk about fashion and think about fashion that is not ethical. And just to give you an example, this outfit I'm wearing is actually from pieces of linen that I upcycled and made a jumper. At the Great Village, we believe that business has to be with purpose if we really want to have a sustainable growth. But we also believe that it has to be inclusive. But when I talk about inclusivity, it has to be fully inclusive. Not just thinking about white or black or Asians or trans. We have to talk about everybody and include everybody in the mix, because at the end of the day, we all have a superpower here. Each and every one of you has something unique. You have a power and you have to use it. You are responsible to what the world looks like and what the world will look like. So you have to take your power. And as Marina said yesterday, take your power back, like we are all doing here.
We're running out of time now, but before we go, I wanted to ask you all what going into an enterprise with purpose has changed for you. I think I've asked all of you, and all of you have had a beautiful answer. Maybe Marine start.
I don't remember what I said. I think, as all of you will say, that building a business is the biggest personal growth you can go through. I think my empathy level has gone much higher just because I'm constantly exposed to people who are very diverse, and I have to constantly adapt and try to understand where they come from at it. And, lots of our big projects are kind of has stakeholders, whether it's the private sector, public sector, or the artists, or people who really think quite differently. So I think, I'm proud to kind of have more and more empathy by the day through the job that I'm doing.
For myself, first consumption. I was definitely a really over-consumer person when I was younger, and today I wouldn't consume like this at all anymore. And I truly have a relation with the brands that would be engaged. And Alexandre was talking about Apple, who wouldn't give back to the community, and I hate those companies today. I do have an iPhone, but it will change in the next 12 months. So consumption has truly changed, and the way I am considering my person in relation with the world, with the others, the responsibility, and even without responsibility, just giving. I'm saying it, I love my life. I'm working 7 days a week, and I know why, and I believe in what we do. And it's truly good for everyone to be engaged into something.
I'll just add to that. For me, it was more about daring. Like, I used to be a dreamer, but now I understand what it is to dare. Dare to think differently, dare to act differently, even if it's not the norm, but it's my norm, so I guess that works. So it's more about daring and understanding that first you dream, then you dare, because that's how we're going to all thrive together.
Great. Well, on that note, thank you very much for listening to this talk, and thank you all of you for joining us.